All point, using constitutional authority to order exactly 6:30, the starting time. And just before we begin, I have to say this, the meeting is being recorded, it will be posted to our YouTube channel at a later date. Somebody ever watch those? Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I did.
But if you've been here during the meeting, I think they have more. Okay, before we get into the rest of the agenda, I just want to take a brief moment to recognize the unfortunate passing of the former board member, Betty Cheney. I had the opportunity and the privilege to serve with Betty on the board, as I know, I think I know Michael would have. In fact, I don't know whether Doug, were you on the board? Anyway, I think we all know who Betty is. She was a former local county councilor, just a fine lady. She was the chair of the Bacchus Museum Committee and never got too far away from the conservation. She was a fine lady and so yes, but I just wanted to make that so that having been said, let's move on. Are there any additions to the agenda? See none. Anybody else have any additions to the agenda? Then would someone move that the agenda be approved as circulated? Jim moves it and Peter seconds it. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. We have an agenda. There is a revision for the declaration of conflict of interest. If you have interest, please declare a time. Just as soon as you know that you have interest. All the minutes of the previous meeting were circulated. First of all, the hearing board minutes. Someone moved that the minutes of the hearing board September 4th, 2024, be adopted as circulated by Mike, second by Tom. Are there any questions? All those in favor? Opposed? This is carried. Then the minutes of the board meeting on the same date. Motion to adopt them as circulated. Moved by Penny, seconded by Peter. Are there any questions, errors, omissions? Jim?
Decoy Museum. You explain to me,
Say that one, Jim.
there was a decoy museum mentioned in the marsh.
You know something about that. Jimmy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So that was you had someone that was interested in funding a decoy museum at Bacchus, but that project was abandoned. So.
What about the decoys? Were they abandoned?
No, we were going to be looking for donations of the decoys. We actually have some decoys in our own collection at Bacchus, but we're incorporating them into the upgrade that we're doing there now. So we had a section on decoys, so we'll continue to have a section on decoys.
Thank you.
So
Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Yes, they're adopted. There is no business arising from the previous minutes listed. Let's move on then to the Libra Marks Committee. So yeah. Doug, second by Rainey. Any questions to those minutes? As seconded it, then they be adopted as circulated. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Those minutes are adopted. We have correspondence listed, which takes it to the planning report, section 20. Permits, do you have anything to add?
Good evening. Nothing to add, just as always, we bring a report for information to the board. If there's any questions.
Let's put it on the table and we'll ask if there's any questions. Moved by Mike. The report we received for information, seconded by Jim. Are there any questions in the applications? Tom?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not so much a question. I just maybe one of some relief that we have in Norfolk County, and in my ward in particular, that there were no issues with the causeway paving project. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And my question is with respect to the, compared to last year, there's fewer applications. And is there anything that, I know with the planning process has changed through the Ontario government, but what has affected the reduction in the number of permits compared to previous years?
Through the chair, I haven't really, I noticed the reduction. I haven't really sat down and gone through everything. I have been keeping notes about the change in the regulated areas. 120 to 30 meters from a wetland, so that has decreased a few applications. I don't have a comprehensive review right now.
Maybe next year will be lesser yet, or maybe it'll be more, so we'll wait for the new year, thanks.
Any other questions? Sure, yeah. Who's in favor? Report, you're opposed, reported, received as information. Welcome, Shelley.
Thank you, sorry.
We're at, item number 10 on the agenda, new business, and we're about to hear the general manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, actually, Dave, Vice Chair Dave attended the Conservation Ontario Council meeting, by himself, because I was actually ill that day, recovering, but I still wasn't well enough to attend. So the one item there that I was highlighting is just that they did approve the budget for Conservation Ontario, and our share is going up 3.5%, to $32,910. To support that organization and the work that they do for us. I did mention in here about the monitoring wells, and I went to a Southwest GM meeting on Monday, and Upper Thames has been looking after taking the samples from a well in Mount Elgin, which is actually in our watershed. So Tracy said that they didn't want to do it any longer, the general manager. So we have picked up a lot to perform the monitoring on, which I think will be, it's done 4 times, 4 times a year. Yeah, so actually it was interesting, but because there's a, I know we do share the one new subdivision there, Upper Thames, she's commenting, so I don't know exactly where the well is, but so that was interesting. I just also wanted to add in at the Jake's track in Haldeman, October 7th to 13th. There's going to be some spraying in there, but a preventative. There is not the disease in there for the hemlock, but we have a partnership with OWA that they received some funding and they wanted to do some preventative and tracking of do some spraying on the hemlock stands. So that's going to be happening, and unfortunately we're going to close that track for hunting from October 7th to 13th because bull hunting has opened for deer. We did apply for more money, $50,000 we're asking for to continue to do some work with the invasive hemlock woolly edward. So we're hoping we can receive that money to continue doing the work, doing some spraying and setting up some monitoring plots. And also, you may know, some of you may already have attended the meeting, but the presentation that was done by Peter Zuzek and Sarah Emmett, well, actually it's just Sarah that day because Peter couldn't make it, but the application that was submitted, they were successful with to Environment Canada, and they have received $900,000 over 3 years, and staff will be working part of the working group for technical support. But I don't think there's been a meeting. Or did you attend the kickoff meeting? So yesterday there was a kickoff meeting. So that has started, and we'll see. That's really just due to the study. There's not a lot of money for any actual hard work. Last night we had the open house for the watershed resource management strategy and the conservation land strategy. We had 2 members of the public and Chris Van Passen attended as a board member. I just want to remind everybody that there is online comments. They can go on and put your comments in online on the website. So, and that's open until October 7th. So Monday, October 7th, if anybody wants to provide any comments. That's all. Thank you.
For, the questions for Judy, Dave, our designated, appointee to the conservation and charity.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I didn't come prepared, but I do have my notes. Some of the topics that were discussed were flood mapping. The reason, you have to remember the 36 conservation authorities there in the room and Toronto Conservation were hit hard in both July and August with two more than 100-year storms in water, and the Don River had overflown. The Don Valley Parkway was closed twice. So they were talking about updating, suggesting to everybody, make sure that your flood mapping is updated. Because with global warming, we may see more of this, not just in that particular area. So climate change is really something that was discussed. They're talking about communication projects. They did quite a presentation on setting up, Aaron, help me, I was asking you about it, the foundation. And Simcoe Conservation has set one up and they were trying to push them. I was speaking with, sitting at a table with a fellow from the Ottawa Conservation, who was in Telsomere Wine, Doug Heaven. And he said, we tried it, we got out of it. He said, Aaron explained that to do a foundation here is something that would take a considerable amount of staff time. We'd have to set up a full-time staff person. And we're already offering the same services with tax receipts and whatnot for people there. So we're just not, my opinion, ready for it. But I think if anybody wanted to, we could pursue it a little further. I don't think that's for us, not in this particular area. But flood mapping is the big one to talk about and awareness and make sure on social media that everything was explained on how things were done. I don't believe we have problems with our rivers overflowing and washing out roads like they did in Toronto with that sort of magnitude. It was major. And also their transit system was slowed down because, the buses they're half full of water to be hard to keep them moving. Unfortunately, we're not in that category. That was it. So they're good. It's nice to go to organizations like that and just talk about the common good that everybody's doing. It's good group of people. We meet I guess 4 times a year, and it's worth the time.
If there's ever anything that jogs your interest, just to make sure it's on the agenda, we can talk about it.
Yeah, I wanted to bring the thing up with the foundation but as I said, Doug Hebner from Ottawa said it's something they tried and it was a failure. And Aaron said that we're basically offering the same services. So that's why I didn't want to put it on the agenda, but I don't mind giving it a verbal comment.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
are there any questions to Judy with our group? Michael?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I want to ask Judy about this hemlock woolly. Is it spreading rapidly, Judy, do you know? Or is it private lands, or is it just on our properties, or how bad is it?
There hasn't, it was located in our forest at the Haldeman CA. And then we got 3 adjacent landowners to allow staff to go on and do an inventory. So we did that and there's a lot. But so far it's been isolated to that area. We had traps in monitoring in the Jake's track, but that's the closest LPRCA property to the Haldeman CA. So that's why they wanted to go in and do some preventative treatment. So if it does spread, hopefully it kills them. But yeah, the areas that Haldeman and there's some private landowners that probably had worse infection than we did, but there was a lot. So we already have treated those properties though. So we have a
Thank you.
Any other questions, Peter?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The last paragraph of your report, Judy,
Mhm.
3,000. What exactly are they gonna do with that?
Do you want to switch it?
Actually, I'll pass it over to Leanne, because she was on the kickoff meeting yesterday. And I think probably Rainey was too. Rainey, I don't,
Sadly.
oh, Tom was, okay.
So I don't have the exact breakdown, but basically they had put in a larger funding application with some predetermined measures, which included kind of the sand sucking. So as they submitted this application and the federal government had reviewed it, they kind of narrowed the scope down to just the science part. And looked at the study of the whole of the floral cell and what are the barriers. There was one action item that they did fund, which was the dune restoration. So they put in a grant for a larger amount of money and it has been scaled back a little bit, but this is just really going to focus on the science part of it, the community engagement and doing any technical work that's associated with this. And then afterwards, the hope is that once we have all the science, we can come up with measures, mitigation measures afterwards and apply for additional grant.
Follow-up. So is that in part to do with the sedimentation of the north shore of the lake due to the piers and that sort of?
Yeah, so that's one of those piers are gonna be one of the aspects that they do look at.
Any other questions? Then, let's have a motion to receive and record. Chris and Peter, any final questions? All those in favor? Opposed, motion is carried. Today's report. Barry, you're gonna talk about the multi-year accessibility plan.
Thanks. So the multi-year accessibility plan is a requirement under the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act, AODA, 2005. The current plan, 2020 to 2024, was adopted by the board in December of 2020. It's attached as attachment number 2. And the updated multi-year accessibility plan 2025 to 2029 is attached as attachment 1 and can be found on pages 22 to 35 of the agenda package. I guess what I'd like to highlight in the new 2025-2029 plan is the accomplishments over the past 4 years or 5 years of the plan. This can be found on page 27 of the new plan. So over the plan 2020 through 2024, we updated our new website to be all AODA compliant. 2 renovated accessible barrier-free washrooms were installed at the Bacchus Education Center. A new extension ramp in accordance with exterior ramp in accordance with AODA standards was installed at the Bacchus Education Center. 2 new accessible entrance doors at the center were installed as well. At the Education Center, new display panels with information updated to be non-transparent signage with larger fonts and graphics for better accessibility were installed. We also acquired new POS machines for our parks and here at the office, which offer accessible formatting for customers. In the new plan looking forward for 2025 through 2029, the plan describes the measures that we'll be continuing to take to identify, remove, and prevent barriers for all people, including those with disabilities, who use our facilities and the services. If there's any questions regarding the new plan or the accomplishments, I'd be glad to take them.
Questions? The resolution that's currently before us is that the board of directors repeal the year accessibility plan going on to fund the board. But to the resolution 1 to 3, that the Board of Directors approves the 20-year accessibility plan 25 to 29. Percent. Out with the old, in with the new, Tom, second by Rainey. Any final questions or comments? Peter?
Mr. Chair. On just a minor grammatical thing on page 33 under parking. 33 of our agenda package. It talks about when planning to fix parking at the conservation area, and I wonder if that would be better to be stated as planning to upgrade parking. Fixing suggests that it's broken.
You say sorry or write it down. Anything else?
We can incorporate the change.
All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. And Judy wants to talk about the land committee terms of reference.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is another item that we are looking to pull over the personnel policy. And a new policy will be developed. This is just considering the terms of reference as a standalone document. So pulling it out of personnel policy, approving the terms of reference for the land acquisition committee. And then we will be bringing forward a board report on the policy. This is a requirement under the new regulation. We did have the lands committee terms of reference, but we wanted to update it. We require to have a policy governing our land acquisition and dispositions by December 31st, 2024. Our policy probably would have been fine, but we didn't want to take the opportunity to get it under the personnel policy and do some updates just to modernize it a bit. So that's what the idea is here. I know Aaron, I think, spoke to Dave. I know Mike is the current chair. So the change here, which we're looking to add at each, when we're appointing the committees, we have a chair of the land committee. And in the past, sometimes the chair or vice chair would attend the meeting depending on what, but we actually wanted to firm it up to say that we would have one member of the board and then the chair and vice chair, and quorum would be 2 people to formalize it a bit. So that's what we're suggesting here. Before we just had the chair of the lands committee. That's not actually what it says in our old policy, but that's actually what was done. So don't read the old because we weren't following it anyway. But anyway, that's it. So I don't know if Dave had anything to add.
No, it's I think the only thing we have to add. I think it's been 5 years since we've actually walked the field. For land acquisition, some of the larger ones, that big project that was done on the Turkey Point Road was a little bit different, but that was a big one. But as far as the smaller parcels, it's not a busy community, but it could be an.
Yeah.
Chris?
Chairman, on the composition of it, it might be more beneficial to have the chair and vice chair be members, but rather than appointing one board member on an annual basis, that on an ad hoc basis, that the chairman would just bring in some representative of the municipality where the potential property is, and sort of do that on an ad hoc basis, like if something comes up, and then you bring in a member from that municipality for that one item. Technical way, but that's what we're got.
So
Or at the chairman's discretion.
okay, so we would have to amend this in terms of reference. So one member, the chair, the vice chair, and one member.
Subject municipality, of the subject municipality.
Or what did you say, Robert, you said appointed?
Just at the discretion of the chair. The chair should recognize, realize that the appropriate person would be a member of that particular.
Discretion of the chair. Represent that municipality. Something not the point.
I think it's a suggestion, gives the chairman a lot of power, though, I really want that to be nice to me.
So a discretion of the chair to represent the affected municipality. Let's take something. Or we could just, do you want to just leave it at the discretion of the chair?
You can fine tune that, the intent, and what's going to be ruled in a second.
Okay. Yeah, it's not part of the motion.
Yeah, I think that I've been chair of this single person committee for several years. And I often wondered why there isn't more people on it. So I remember we always did include the chair, the board, or the vice chair. I remember we looked at some property here in Tillsonburg, Dave, you remember? And if it was in that particular ward, we did consult with the other parties. So it was happening. But anyway, I think this is a good plan going forward. And question I have for Judy though is, I always hear NCC is getting all kinds of properties. They just acquired a lot of property in Turkey Point, several 100 acres, I guess it is. And then we got the Long Point Basin Trust, they're getting properties. Should we be embellishing our marketing or our request for donations of properties somehow?
I don't think NCC is getting donations, possibly the Basin Trust is, but they're buying property with grant money.
Yeah.
So there's federal money that has been available for purchase of.
From the Western fan.
For that,
So,
can the Long Point Conservation Authority get monies from the federal government, just like NCC, to purchase some properties that we may be interested in?
yes, there has been programs available. We have, we had actually, I shouldn't say I haven't applied, I did try for one. Because Conservation Ontario had some money. There was a property that was listed and we were horseshoed around it. We owned all around it. But it's an awkward process because it's on the open market and then you're trying to apply for funding. And then by the time if you find out about funding, you maybe could put in a conditional offer. It's not a great system how it works when you're dealing with property on the open market. So that property was sold. And yeah, so we haven't pursued it. It's just, I guess, if I had nothing else to do, I'd be out there trying to secure more property. But right now, I'm just trying to look at the property we have. We do have a lot of work that we can do on our own properties. And yeah, it just takes time and money.
Well,
Extra money.
hopefully we'll have people listening to this with videos, maybe someone will.
Yeah, we've been very fortunate with donations.
That's right, we have. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, the motion that's printed is that the Land Acquisition Committee terms of reference, part 2, sections 32.2 of the personnel policy be removed, and that the Land Committee terms of reference be approved as presented as amended. Moved by Rainey, seconded by Jim, I think. Any final questions? That will come back. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried.
Sorry, you can second.
Let me. Okay, June, you're gonna talk about the Whiteley project.
So, I had mentioned in my past GM report, now we actually have 3 RFPs that actually closed on September 11th, and we have awarded the contracts. And then we also did learn when they did send out the transfer agreement, we did get more money for the Norwich Safety Dam or the dam safety boom. So they had downgraded the project and only, I think in the original letter from M&R, we had asked for like 80,000 and now we're back up to 80. So we have that RFP out now issued and it closes October 9th. So we're hoping we get some bids on that because at the Norwich Dam, it's pretty active reservoir and there's no safety boom at the top of the dam. So we thought that would be pretty. We did get the funding, so we wanted to definitely pursue that. But on the second page, you can see that we did receive money and have awarded projects for the Hay Creek dam repairs for the embankment, et cetera, to Chant Limited, and that's just actually doing the engineering design. And then the Tutorville Dam class environmental assessment matrix was successful on that. And that's actually a 2-year project. And then the Deer Creek Dam Safety Review, that is DM Wilson Associate. And we had money from in a previous budget for that. So the one project is a special levy to Norfolk, and because the price came in under 60, we're saving a bit of money there and be able to just we'll be invoicing Norfolk County for half of the 54,968. So that should be good news for Norfolk County. And it's actually doing some really good work in the watershed with this, the funding that we received from WECI.
Any questions? Those.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I'm a little confused, maybe Judy, like we're paying, well, a couple questions. One, Matrix, did they do the Victoria Dam?
Yes, they did.
I thought they were the complete. Okay, we're paying, the county special levy is for half of the Hay Creek, correct?
Yes.
Okay, how does the other dams? We aren't being levied anything on them?
So the watershed approach is taken for all studies and anything safety related for dams. When it comes to the design for an engineer, like engineer design for a repair, that's where goes to the municipality where the dam is.
So, for example, I guess Teeterville, when they do the assessment, the environmental assessment, and later on, if there's recommendations for repair or whatever, we will get levied for
That would
that.
be a special levy to Norfolk.
Same with Deer Creek.
The Deer Creek Dam, so to review, though, that was general levy.
No. Well, if there's repairs.
Yes, that was, we did have concrete repairs there and that was a special levy to Norfolk, but we did receive WECI funding after 3 times there. So we actually had, Norfolk had paid us, we actually refunded some money there when we did that repair. The concrete on the wind walls.
So the Victoria Dam, when that is complete, like that's a drawdown process, right? Over so many years, I think they told us.
Yeah.
So when that's complete, are we out of that, Norfolk? In terms of having any, or are they gonna come after us for more money again? That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, at Victoria, I think there has to be, we did apply for a WECI project which wasn't funded. We applied for funding to help support engineering designs because the EA, basically there's a recommended option,
Yeah,
but there still has to be some engineering work completed on the design of that recommended option. So we weren't successful on that. So we'll apply again if there's any money available, like after the first year. Because WECI went to 2-year process, but if there's funding that brings up after the first year, because we cannot move money from one year to the other year, so we will continue to apply, but there's some engineering design that has to happen there, and then we have to work with Norfolk and figure out how that fits into their budget
But
for the actual.
the Victoria Dam.
Yeah.
I thought, maybe I'm wrong here, but I thought we were done with it other than the drawdown of the water and it was gonna be,
That, the option is to draw it down over time and to put in, to remove the logs and actually put in a fish barrier, like so that the fish can go upstream. You know, this fish
Right.
downstream and upstream, so no, there's still more work to do, it's very complicated.
well, I am not being critical, but I didn't think it was complicated once we picked that solution and I'm wondering like.
Oh, it's probably the least complicated solution, but
Right,
it still has to be.
so but they're like. Taking out logs and drawing down the water is it,
Yeah, and there's also, like, we have to figure out about the monitoring of the adjacent wells and work with Norfolk County to see how that's gonna happen, and there's
so
so,
Matrix are doing all that?
no.
Who's doing it?
So Matrix has done that, they are done the EA piece.
Right,
You've submitted the paperwork, we did the final submission to MECP.
right,
No, it's not MECP, it's M&R. So the next piece would be, can we do another RFP out to figure out to hire someone? But there was,
no,
I
let's
think
talk about doing it ourselves, was there not?
there's some work that we definitely can do ourselves in Norfolk County if they have resources. We could definitely design the work plan to do some in-house, but we can.
Thank you.
You go back to Norfolk County, and you smooth all this over again.
Well, no, sometimes I think there's no end to some of it, that's all.
Yes.
Thank you, Chairman. One of the unanswered questions that I don't think we have to finalize is when we pull the last log out of that. Is it still a dam? Or has it then become the bridge over Young's Creek that is fully Norfolk County's responsibility? And we were in about 10 centimeter difference on what's sitting there. And if you cut that off, then it wouldn't be a dam anymore, and then it wouldn't be the LPRCA's responsibility, it would be totally Norfolk's responsibility, so. But also, did they actually pull a log out of there yet, or not?
No,
There was a little spell where there wasn't water running over it, it would have been a good time to pull that out.
Okay, we have the report. That's what it is, be received, so.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just gonna suggest that maybe since it's gonna become Norfolk's responsibility, that a few of us head down there and pull the rest of the logs out. One question I had for the general manager. Deer Creek, we just finished some major repairs on that. In the process leading up to those repairs, was there not a safety review done at that time?
No, we actually have decided to do the repair first, because then they can assess the dam with the new concrete and all the work that was done. So the dam safety review will be better report with knowing that we're doing the work. That's why we have applied for it a couple times since the work was done, but this is the first time it was funded, so. But yeah, we wanted to wait till after the repairs were done, just so that can be considered in the assessment.
Any final questions? Did I get a mover for the receive reports information? Michael, Jim? Final questions, all those in favor? Opposed? Yeah. Stories about the emergency. Okay, we have freshwater ecosystem initiative otherwise known as FEI funding.
So this is just an update for the board with some good news. So the application that ECCC put out in January, which the biosphere was successful in, LPRCA also put in a application for some of that funding to do best management practices on the ground with respect to reducing phosphorus. We did apply for the entire watershed. And basically how it works right now is the federal government has done assessments on most of the tributaries from Big Otter west and Lake Erie. And it's been identified that Big Otter is a major contributor of phosphorus in Lake Erie. So, and they haven't done anything east of it. So right now we have $470,000 over the next 4 years to target phosphorus reduction in the Big Otter watershed. And I just wanted to highlight that of why it's that watershed specific. My hopes in future years is once that science has done the rest of our watershed, there'll be grant programs that we can apply to do these best management practices in the rest of the watershed. But so we've been successful in securing just under $500,000 to do erosion control project, cover crops, and with the goal of decreasing phosphorus loads in the Big Otter watershed. This also includes purchasing a phosphorus sensor, and right now we're talking about putting it at the Colton gauge, and this will hopefully give us a baseline of the phosphorus that's coming down. And ideally through the years with these best management practices, we can show a reduction in phosphorus. So good news story, we have up until the end of March of 2028. And Jess is going to be involved from a communications perspective, just letting all the areas know that there's funds available, which is kind of targeting specific areas. Part of this is also just bringing this to your attention. If you know anyone in the watershed who has issues or who would be interested in participating, get a hold of our office or give it to me, and we can start doing site visits and start working away.
Sure. Thank you, Chair. I'm just curious, I probably should know this, but I don't. Where is the beginning of the Big Otter watershed?
So through the chair, the Big Otter watershed, I don't know if we can see it on that map. I don't know if the watershed lines are up there. But basically the top of Southwest Oxford is Big Creek, and just south of that is where Big Otter starts. So quite a bit of Southwest Oxford. Half of Norwich, without looking at a map, and then Tillsonburg, Cortland's also in the Big Otter watershed as well. So a bit of Norfolk County in that way, and he's involved in.
Someone like to move the resolution to receive the information. Shelley Ann, Tom, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then that takes us to the closed session. I will read the motion. The record does now enter into a closed session to discuss litigation and potential litigation with matters before administrative tribunals. For example, planning appeal tribunal. Brady, Doug, those in favor. It's carried. Just go to moment from the break. Meeting is November the 6th at 6:30. We have a budget meeting scheduled between 9:30 on November the 13th. Michael.
Chair, I don't know if Judy's spoken or whether there's been a time change here, but I think is the 13th not a Norfolk County Council meeting that day? And so we would have to be out of here by 12:30
Wednesday.
for budget day.
If it starts at 9,
It starts at 9:30.
no, I mean, what if they change the council to start at 9, like, no?
It's that
Sorry, Mr. Chair, that is possible because it is a council committee meeting. As we are doing that next week, we're going to 9:30 start. I don't know, like, you don't get that information until like, what, 2 or 3 days before.
You
No.
tell them that they can't.
They've known previously. So, Dana works with the clerk and I know she's been in contact with Norfolk County, trying to see if, Norfolk County meeting would be pushed to start later. But we haven't had a response back, have we? No. So our request was really, okay, maybe if you can push the meeting an hour or whatever, would give us time to hopefully wrap up our meeting, but we're waiting to hear.
Okay, we usually have been done by noon, right? In the past.
Yeah, historically, but I guess that is an option if the committee, if the board wanted to talk about, or consider starting earlier than 9:30, I think. Usually Stu and has requested that we not start as too early, but.
I could be out
If I may,
by 9:30.
for 9:30, if that's affordable to Norfolk.
9:30
Or,
How about 9 o'clock?
yeah,
It's up to the board.
Let's put it at 9 o'clock. And we'll finalize it definitively on November 6th in the meeting. Pencil it in, don't use indelible ink for November the 13th at 9 o'clock
Yeah.
here. To be concluded by noon.
Good.
And then we're all gonna go to Norfolk County and share them.
What time does your meeting start?
1 o'clock.
Usually.
1?
We'll be done by then.
Well, even if they gave them a half hour, then you guys could grab lunch and don't stay.
First,
What, Tom, what,
I will follow up with our clerk and just tell them that they can't make that another Norfolk County 9:30 in the morning meeting. 1 o'clock, no changes to it, and
Yeah.
I think I get to chair that meeting anyway.
okay,
Okay.
Chris is on our side here. Anything else to come before the board before we adjourn? Then I declare the meeting adjourned.
We-